Your platoon is what remains of recon. I'm folding you into the 22nd. You'll be going up that damned hill tonight.
We're intelligence gathering, sir.
I don't need intelligence, son. I need men who can hold rifles and kill. Tonight, you're a rifle company. We've got cooks, mechanics, and stretcher bearers all going into the line. We aim to break them tonight, Lieutenant.
Good to see you, Hank.
You too, Cole. How's your war?
Not quite what I expected.
As long as I live, I will never get over that sound.
Hey, who's that medic? He'll be killed going out there.
It's Sheldon, the guy from the Osakawa Bridge. That guy's got no fear.
He didn't make it.
I didn't go out there to save him.
What are you saying, man?
I went out there to put him out of his misery, to ease his pain. Do you have a problem with that?
Murder, Corman.
That's war, Lieutenant. Smell the stench. Feel the horse's breath on your neck.
You need help, man.
Call for me tonight, Lieutenant. When you're up on that hill. I've been up there 3 times already. The circles of hell have nothing on Sugarloaf Hill.
Get this madman out of my sight!
House fire. Bad one. At least 4 Vicks. Get out there and find out what you can. The address is 650 North Hobart.
We can't expect much small talk from Herschel Biggs. He's tired. Been in this game a long time. Not as personally ambitious as Roy. But you know, if I had to choose between a quiet and honest partner or a chatty backstabber, well, I'd choose Herschel Biggs every time.
You hear about Rancho Escondido?
Are we having a conversation, Biggs?
Okay, fuck it. Forget
I'm teasing you, Herschel. Tell me about it.
Well, the new housing development's a couple of weeks from completion. Burnt to the ground last night. GIs are ready to move in this weekend. Developer's gonna have some very angry customers.
So in addition to the house fire we are investigating, an entire development went up in flames? We arrive at the house fire at 11:43 a.m. And on a billboard overlooking the place is an advertisement for the Suburban Redevelopment Fund. Cole still has his suspicions about the fund, but now we need to focus on the task at hand. We see Mal waiting for us at the doorstep to the house, and that means bodies.
You guys better see this. I hope you have strong stomachs.
Carruthers takes us inside to the family living room.
Do you have a name?
Morelli, Mike. We recovered a picture of the family.
Okay. Anything else?
Be honest, I just got here, Phelps. Best you talk to Lynch. He's the expert.
Doesn't make any sense. Why aren't they scattered around like the rest of the debris?
I think they've been moved.
Ooh.
I think someone moved them after the explosion and before the fire.
Can you explain that, please?
I'm almost positive the cause of death is asphyxiation due to gas inhalation. Look at the parts of their bodies that aren't scorched. The coloring around the fingertips is typical.
They wouldn't have felt a thing.
I think the fire damage is post-mortem. I think someone moved them into this room after the explosion.
It still doesn't make any sense. Why would you run into a burning building?
Examining evidence marker A.
What are they doing?
The prayer effect is from the fire. The muscles and tendons contract.
You catch all the good ones, Phelps.
Who could have done this? Why were they moved here after they died? Nearby, at evidence marker B,
You ever think about how many people have died in this world? And how big heaven would have to be to accommodate them, Biggs?
No, I have not. Show some respect.
No time for philosophy, Cole. We have to find some justice for these poor people.
It's our boy. I think he watches the fires. I think the Sawyer fire went wrong.
So what about the guy we have in jail, Phelps?
You got the wrong guy.
That doesn't explain why he ran into a burning building. What would make anyone do that?
Guilt.
For the fires?
For his mistake. This guy wants to burn houses, not families. He expects the houses to be empty. He was trying to redeem himself. He probably thought they'd be happier together.
You are one very disturbed individual, Phelps. I know you had it rough lately, but you should start to compartmentalize your thoughts.
He could be right. Can you come up with an alternative explanation?
I'm sure it's the same guy.
Are you telling me that some son of a bitch murdered these people, the whole family, and arranged them here like Cupid dolls?
Might fit, Cole, but I don't think we could ever prove it. There's very little evidence.
Evidence?
Albert, check out the hot water system. Make sure we're dealing with the same MO.
Sure, Phelps. I'll get back to you.
Leave the rest to us, Cole. You better find out what's eating Biggs.
Can we blame a man for reacting the way Biggs did upon seeing a scene like this? But Cole and Biggs are part of LA's finest. We've got to remain composed. Heading outside, we can check in on our partner.
So something finally got to you.
You want my help, pretty boy? You got it. You keep riding me and you won't be pretty much longer.
We can get this guy, Herschel.
You think you've seen everything, Phelps? I was with the 2nd Marines at Bella Wood. The things that went on in that farmhouse. My own guys on fire, screaming for a way out. You're not gonna get this guy. There's gonna be no photos and no citations. We're gonna kill this miserable fuck. End of story. You getting this?
You remember the list from the travel agent?
Sure.
The Morellis were winners too. Their name was on that list.
Christ. We should take a look around, work the neighbors, see what they know. I'll go across the street.
Okay, I'll try this side.
I haven't done this for years.
Is somebody gonna
You don't
tell
look
us
like
what
a
the hell's
fireman,
going
son.
on?
Bella Wood was a World War I battle, one of the bloodiest in the entire war. It is from this battle that we get the quote, often repeated in movies, and that has become part of Marine culture, "Come on, you sons of bitches, do you want to live forever?" It's no wonder his wartime experiences haunt Biggs, even all these years later. The sight may have unnerved Biggs, but it only hardened his resolve, and that gives Cole a very useful partner. Cole mentioned the Gulliver's travel list that we examined in our last case, and sure enough, looking back, the Morellis were indeed on this list. So they, like the 2 homes we explored in our last case, won a contest put on by the Suburban Redevelopment Fund and won a trip to Catalina Island. And they also find themselves victim of a house fire? This can't be a coincidence. While Biggs is canvassing the neighborhood, we can explore around the house. On the side of the building, we find evidence marker C.
Looks like the same model.
Sure enough, a Instaheat water heater serviced by Reginald Varley. But Reginald Varley is in prison. He couldn't have done this. In the front lawn, we find a newspaper on the ground. Housing development burns. Ex-serviceman irate as GI houses razed. Rancho Escondido on Fountain Avenue left in ruins. Oh, this is what Herschel was talking to us about in the car.
How did you get my number, Ira? At first, I didn't understand you. But now I do. I'd like you to come back to the clinic. I'm helping other people now, Doctor.
I think you are confused. You haven't been to the clinic for weeks.
I'm not confused anymore, Doctor. I'm helping people be together.
This world is only temporary. We'll all be happier in heaven.
Why don't you tell me where you are and I can come to you? I think the fires should end now. They have served their purpose. Oh, the fires are only beginning, Doctor. After the fires, everything will be beautiful and clean.
Everything will be erased. The world will be fresh and new.
I can see my purpose now, Doctor. And you helped me to find it.
So the fires were caused by Fontaine. Fontaine and his minion, Ira. From the conversation, it sounds like Ira may have been one of his mental patients. A mental patient he took advantage of to do his dirty work, to cause these fires. But it seems like Fontaine has lost control of his minion. When he hung up the receiver, he looked scared. That means Reginald Varley is indeed innocent. We've got to release him. But you and I know this information. Cole has no idea. Let's see how long it takes for him to figure it out. Nearby, we see a neighbor examining the scene. Heading over, we see something white by a tree. Bending over to examine it.
Someone was keeping watch. Looks like they were here for quite a while. Brand looks distinctive.
Wow, someone went through half a pack of cigarettes. And next to these...
Whoever he was wearing boondockers. I would know that imprint anywhere.
So someone stood here, smoking cigarettes, watching the fire burn. Was it our arsonist? Or perhaps the owner of this property? Let's go have a chat.
LAPD, can you tell me anything about the fire next door?
Terrible luck. Imagine after having won that weekend away.
What's your name, sir?
Foreman. Dudley Foreman.
We'll ask Dudley here about exactly what he saw.
Did you see or hear anything that might have...
Look, we were asleep when we heard the explosion.
Whoa. Sorry, buddy, you got a place to be? What's with interrupting an officer while he's asking you a question? He's just standing here gawking. You'd think he'd want to help the police out. What's his issue? He stands here smug, shifting his weight, meeting eyes with Cole, but lifting his eyebrows, looking as if he knows something Cole doesn't, and he's relishing that upper hand.
Hey, I don't have all day.
Oh, sure. Busy guy. That doorstep won't darken itself. He's holding out on us, and so we'll use a little bad cop.
You didn't like Morelli, did you?
Some neighbors you get along with, some you don't. Guess they should have sold up.
What do you mean?
They're knocking down all these old houses and building a new subdivision for GIs. Morelli was being difficult.
So he was standing there smug because he didn't like the guy. He sold up and he lives. Morelli didn't and he's dead. He stopped short of saying serves him right. Well, some neighbor. We can ask him if he saw anything suspicious.
Did you see anyone hanging around the Morelli's home prior to the explosion?
Nope. Can't say as I was looking out, though.
Nope. Boy, this guy's really going out of his way to be helpful, isn't he? But we know someone was hanging out watching this fire burn, and this guy is suddenly very nervous. He's no longer smug, his brow is furrowed, and his mouth is a horizontal slit. He also can't maintain eye contact with Cole. He's nervous. And even though we have evidence that someone was hanging out by that tree smoking cigarettes, we can't use it here. The correct answer is doubt.
You sure, Mr. Foreman? There are signs of someone hanging around over there by the fence.
Hey, now that you come to think of it, there was a guy. Kind of tall. Skinny, though.
Anything else?
Orange lumber jacket, a beat-up hat, and no hair. I thought he was the pest exterminator guy who was working around here the last few days. But that guy had hair.
Well, then why'd you think he was the pest exterminator? Also, how did you know the guy didn't have hair if he was wearing a hat? Unless he took it off. Well, we got quite a description of our murder suspect. Tall, skinny, bald, ratty hat, orange jacket. Should stand out, but it doesn't fit the description of anyone we know yet. Moving on, we can ask him about the planned demolitions here in the neighborhood.
You said someone is knocking these houses down?
Elysian Fields. You must know them. They're billboards. That Monroe character beaming down at you. We've had an offer for the house.
Did the Morellis want to sell?
I don't know.
That Leland Monroe grin was great, but again, he's not being honest with us. It's also really frustrating because he just told us that he knew his neighbors didn't want to sell. Well, He said that they were being difficult, but you wouldn't be difficult if you wanted to sell. So we know he's not being honest here. And yet we can't use his answer as evidence that he's lying. We also deduce, based on his body posture, that he's not telling us the truth. He looks even more nervous than he did before, gritting his teeth, glancing to the right and left, looking for a way to escape. The correct answer here is bad cop.
Whatever you thought of Morelli, his whole family is dead. They couldn't have all deserved that. I want you to help me here, Foreman.
Morelli was pig-headed. He built the house himself. He didn't want to sell. Stubborn fool was ruining it for all of us.
Yeah, but that is his American right. If he built the house himself, it's his land, his property. He doesn't have to sell if he doesn't want to sell. Dudley here has no place getting upset at him for that. Finally, we can ask him about the contest.
You said the Morellis had won a weekend away to Catalina Island?
Yeah, that's right. First thing I thought after the explosion was, thank goodness they was away. But then I find out they were still in there.
Who was running the competition?
What? I don't know.
We never find out why they were there. In the last episode, we learned that the murder victims had stayed home because their son was sick. Too sick to go to Catalina Island. But we never find out why this family of four stayed here. It's just not explained. Despite the fact that his house is standing beneath a suburban redevelopment fund billboard, and despite the fact that he knows that Elysian Fields is trying to buy up all these properties, he still claims that he doesn't know who's putting on the promotion. Well, from our last case, we know who's putting on the promotion, none other than the Suburban Redevelopment Fund. But Dudley here seems to genuinely not know what's going on. This is the first time his face looks honest. He is shifting his weight a lot, but then again he is standing and has been for some time. His gaze, however, is fixed. His jaw is straight, he's not moving his mouth, he's not moving his eyes. It's a genuine blank slate. So, he's telling the truth.
You didn't enter yourself?
I'd already agreed to sell. The competition was an incentive for those who were still thinking about it.
Thanks for your time, Mr. Foreman.
Sure. Hey, if you're interested, I have one of those competition flyers in the kitchen. I could get it for you if you like.
That would be great.
Any luck, Cole?
A couple of things. What did you pick up?
Folded piece of paper. Looks complicated.
Japanese call it origami. Can I take a look?
Sure.
Paper crane. There's a legend about them. You fold 1,000 of these and you get a wish.
Looks like there's writing on this paper crane. Unfolding it.
Hey, don't break it.
I'm not. I'm unfolding it. It looks like a waybill or a flyer.
For what?
For Elysian Fields developments.
Building a better California. We want to buy your old home today. Elysian Fields by Leland Monroe. A face we've seen on billboards all over the area, and it appears like something's been ripped off the bottom. Just then, our good, helpful pal Dudley walks on over.
Oh, I see you already have one.
When did the flyer arrive in your mailbox?
They've been arriving for weeks. This one was in the mailbox when I got home from work yesterday afternoon.
Sure enough, there's a coupon at the bottom. Win a trip to Catalina Island. But can we stop for a minute to talk about how awful this last interview question was with Dudley? We know from previous experience who's running the contest. We have a suspicion that Dudley knows, since he said that Elysian Fields was buying up houses in the area. But when he said that he had no idea who was running the contest, the correct answer was truth. And yet he's had this flyer the whole time. The flyer that has a coupon for the contest with Leland Monroe's face on it. So of course he knew. He was lying when he said he didn't. But the correct answer was to pretend that he wasn't lying, to play a bit of good cop. I love this game, but things like this bother me. At any rate, we've collected all the clues we can from the crime scene. Clues which gave us really only one avenue left to explore, and that's to visit the headquarters of Elysian Fields to talk with this Leland Monroe. Heading to a nearby Gamwell, we can ring up R&I for the address.
I need an address for a property developer. Elysian Fields Developments.
One moment, Detective. The address is 748 North Oxford Avenue, Wilshire. Anything else?
Messages, please.
You have a message. Contact Captain McKelty immediately.
Thanks. Can you put me through, operator?
Of course. Here you are.
Commander?
Leads in the Morelli fire.
We're about to go and visit Elysian Fields developments.
You're about to do what? Leland Monroe? He's a personal friend of the mayor and the chief. Are you out of your mind? I'm warning you, Phelps.
Commander, we have a line of inquiry.
You have something, you bring it to me. You're hanging by a thread, Phelps. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Good. Have a report on my desk today.
Kelty has warned us off over Elysian.
Makes sense. It's a dead end. We should check out Rancho Escondido.
You know the place?
Sure. Corner of Fountain and Wilton. Let's go.
There are some powerful people working at Elysian Fields, and they don't want us snooping around. I guess that means that we should probably snoop around there. But first, we'll do as Herschel says and check out Rancho Escondido, the new development destined for GIs that was recently razed to the ground.
Shame about Chapman. The arson desk has been trying to nail that son of a bitch for years.
He's still in custody, Herschel.
Want to bet? Fella kicked him loose already. Can't hold him for misdemeanor cigarettes and matches.
Chapman was the arsonist we arrested in our last case, but we never charged him. That's because Reginald Varley was a much more likely suspect. Sounds like the LAPD couldn't keep him forever and released him. We arrive at the Rancho Escondido development at 5 o'clock p.m.
You know, there are times when you really miss a nightstick. There's more religion in the end of a nightstick than in 100 cathedrals.
And we arrive to see a disturbance. Men in the streets of the development shouting angrily. These must have been the GIs, whose brand new homes just burned to the ground.
I'm not gonna tell you again, sir.
Don't tell me when and how I can come and go on my own property.
It is not
This is
safe,
America,
sir.
dickhead.
Now step back, or I'll lock you up for
Smart
a fray.
mouth son of a bitch.
You sorry sack. That's not it, Cole. We're gonna have to pacify these poor saps.
We're always down for some pacification. One down and a few flee, but we find a few more who are hungry for a knuckle sandwich.
Time for you to lose the teeth.
Oh, okay. Oh, got him in the end.
Good thing you showed up when you did, detectives. Those folks were baying for blood.
Okay, then. Let's see if there's anything left to take a look at.
So the entire development burns to the ground, but we still see the skeletal remains of this house running around. However, we don't find a water heater. How exactly did this development burn down? Though, as we examine the brickwork,
Mortar is like dust. Is that normal in a fire?
You'd expect some shrinkage in the heat, but it looks like the cement barely adhered to the brick. Doesn't appear to be any wall ties either. This thing looks like it was built on the cheap.
cheap mortar, no wall ties. Ooh, looks like Elysian Fields was cutting corners. Oh, ah!
If we're paying a visit to Elysian and ruining my career, let's bite the bullet and get on with it.
Even though the captain told us not to talk with Leland Monroe at Elysian Fields, the evidence we just got here at Rancho Escondido, again, only points to Elysian Fields. After all, burning down an entire development that had already been built only makes sense if someone was likely to discover that it was built on the cheap, and Elysian Fields needed the insurance money to rebuild it. A passable theory, but we'll head to Elysian Fields to bounce it off of Leland Monroe. We arrive at the Elysian Field offices at 5 p.m., and this place is not built with cheap bricks and faulty mortar. No, this place is built out of black marble and glass. Heading through the front door, we can check in with the receptionist.
Detectives Phelps and Biggs, LAPD, to see Leland Monroe.
Do you have an appointment?
We're the police, lady. We don't need an appointment.
Can I tell him what it's about?
It's an official investigation.
There are 2 police officers here to see Mr. Monroe.
Send them through.
And that's our cue. Thanks, ma'am.
Okay, we got past bouncer number 1. Now to head upstairs to get past bouncer number 2.
May I help you, gentlemen?
We would like to speak to Mr. Monroe.
I'm afraid it's impossible. Mr. Monroe's schedule is booked weeks in advance.
Cut to the chase, sister. Is he in?
I'm not at liberty to reveal that, officer.
So he hired you for your intelligence?
I find that offensive.
You have every right to.
This is getting us nowhere, miss.
Casino.
Would you like us to return with a warrant?
That won't be necessary, gentlemen. Come into my office.
Okay, I like Biggs. His wit is dry, but I like dry wit. Monroe himself invites us in.
You like a cigar? Drink, boys.
Sure, I'll have a scotch.
Biggs. We're investigating a series of domestic fires, Mr. Monroe.
It's terrible, boys. How can I help?
Well, you can help by telling us exactly why all the evidence is pointing to Elysian being linked to the arsons.
Elysian Fields and Suburban Redevelopment Fund flyers keep turning up in the vicinity of the fires.
They're turning up all over town, boys. Can you imagine the current demand for housing?
So that's your explanation, Mr. Monroe? Coincidence?
Explanation? Why, what's to explain? I advertise on radio and billboards for buyers, and I advertise for sellers using waybills.
Wow, he's acting as if cops suspecting him is just ludicrous, out of the question. After all, he is Leland Monroe. And he sits here quite suspiciously. He looks like a poker player who has a winning hand. He's holding the hand close to his chest, sitting up straight in his chair, shoulders back, eyeing the other players suspiciously, trying to figure out what their next move might be. You only act that way when you're playing a game, and you're only playing a game if you're lying. We don't have evidence that Leland Monroe is lying, but we have every reason to doubt his story.
We found a family burnt out in their home. Another house burned to the ground. Another Elysian Fields flyer. Our information is that they didn't want to sell.
Are you saying that's something to do with me? Is that your point?
Point is, every time we find a family barbecued, we find one of your flyers. Is that good advertising?
Nice one, Biggs. Let's hope that doesn't come back to bite him. Next, we'll ask him about the Catalina Island travel contest.
What do you know about a competition for families to win free vacations to Catalina Island?
My company runs many promotions. I'm not familiar with that one.
Oh, he's not, is he? He's not familiar with the very promotion on the same flyers that he hands out that has his face on them? Possible if he was incompetent, but Leland Monroe doesn't strike me as an incompetent sort of guy. Deceitful, devious, murderous, sure, but not incompetent. He also sits here more uncomfortable than we've seen him so far. He's now leaning forward, hands on the table, as if the game has been progressing long into the night, and now the game is going poorly, and he's growing tired. He's looking to the left and the right through those tiny little slits for eyes, trying to think of his next move. But we don't have to depend upon his facial expression. Instead, we'll accuse him of lying.
Level with me, Mr. Monroe. You know all about the vacation offers.
You can believe whatever you like, son. You're missing the vital ingredient called proof.
The proof we have and that we can point to is the Elysian Field flyer that good old Dudley handed us. The one with his face on it.
Your face is all over the flyers, Mr. Monroe. You know about the prizes, and you're aware that they get given to holdouts.
My face is the brand. It's on all our advertising. Did you know that the mayor and the chief of police are part of the Suburban Redevelopment Fund? Do you want to accuse them of murder as well?
Oh, so intimidation, huh? That's the tactic you're left with, Leland? Thankfully, Cole doesn't deal with intimidation well. Next, we'll ask him about all the other properties he's been trying to buy up.
He's made offers to buy houses in areas where fires have been recorded.
Are you suggesting that I'm burning people out of their homes so that I can sell them new ones?
What happens to your plans if a family like the Morellis refuses to sell?
We work around them. Business finds a way. That's the American way.
Indeed, Mr. Monroe, that is the American way. And while we'd like to believe that he'd take a playing card from up and simply build around the houses, what might be more profitable is to find a way to kick them out of their houses so that you can gobble up their land, by burning them. This guy has motive, and a man of his wealth has means. And he sits here like a kid caught with his hand in a cookie jar. His face is unmoving, uncomfortably so, as if the entire thing was paralyzed except for his eyes. He'll blink those and look from right to left, but he's a deer in headlights, trying to remain as motionless as possible, hoping that no one will catch him. We will again play bad cop.
Come on, Mr. Monroe. You expect me to believe that you would build a new development with one of those old piles smack bang in the center of it?
Progress is an inexorable process, Detective. Those who choose to stand in defiance are usually confined to the wastebasket of history. To answer your question, yes, we would build around them if we had to. Most people see sense.
Yes, but how exactly do they end up seeing sense? Of their own accord or through coercion? When we have one mystery yet to explain, there was no one living at the Rancho Escondido development. No reason to burn people out of their homes. We need to ask him about the fire.
What's Elysian Field's involvement in Rancho Escondido?
One of our latest housing developments. It was due to open on the weekend, or was before the unfortunate conflagration.
It met with building code regulation.
Absolutely. Only the best for our returning heroes.
Ah, at last, here we have evidence that he's lying. Only the best for our returning heroes, he says. And then he sits back in his chair and sulks. His jowls puff out and hang from his jaw, and his eyes shift left and right. But we can prove that the homes were not built to the highest quality.
You're lying, Monroe. There's something out of kilter about that development.
Son, I've had enough of you and your fidgety friend. There's no way in hell you can prove that my materials were inferior.
I love the way he said fidgety friend. This guy is great. I mean, he's awful, but he's great. But the evidence we can point to is, of course, the poor mortar quality we found between the bricks at one of the burned-out houses of Rancho Escondido.
I'm no expert, but I think we'll find that the bricks being used on those houses are undersized and the mortar is faulty.
And there's no wall ties connecting the masonry to the frame.
Every building is built to a budget, boys. Those buildings were inspected and fully insured by California Fire and Life. Investment of that magnitude demands it. Do you think that they'd vouch for the buildings without examining them? The arsonists, do you have any suspects?
We aren't at liberty to say.
I didn't think so. The contractors I use for waybills, do you suppose it could be any of them? I have a list of their names if it'd be of any help.
That would be very helpful, Mr. Monroe.
Glad to hear it. I'm always happy to help the LAPD. My secretary will provide you with that list. Did you know that I'm on the board of the police pension fund?
Glad to be of help, officers.
Oh, poor Herschel. Before she is of help to us, let's head back in and examine some of these models. You know, Leland Monroe did raise a good point. What insurance company in their right mind would insure an entire development that had been built with poor quality materials? No insurance company would do that. They, and only they, would suffer for doing so. Unless they were part of the scheme. And so we have a new company we need to follow up on. California Fire and Life. What exactly do they have to say for insuring all of the houses we know were built poorly? When ready, we can head to the secretary to find that list of names of contractors Leland Monroe uses to hand out the flyers.
What's the story? Any of these names ring a bell?
Taking a look at the list, a lot of names we don't recognize. Bradley, Jones. But then we see one. Herbert Chapman. He was handing out the waybills?
Herbert Chapman is on this list.
Find the phone. We need to know where we're at with Chapman.
Chapman was the suspected arsonist we arrested in our last case. The guy with the book of matches and a cigarette. Looks like Elysian Fields hired him to pass out the flyers. That's a bit of a coincidence. Heading downstairs, we can be sarcastic with the receptionist.
Your boss is a fine man.
And then head into one of the offices to use a phone.
Operator, give me dispatch.
Putting you through now.
Cole Phelps, badge 1247.
How could I help, Detective?
Can you check whether we are still holding a Herbert Chapman?
Let me find out for you. He was released this morning, Detective. I'm sorry, Detective.
It's not your fault. Can you give me a last known address and put out an APB on the guy?
I'll get back to you, Detective. APB will go out over KGPL shortly.
Thanks, ma'am.
I love the chase till the minute I win it. A beautiful face till there's love for me in it. Give me your heart and baby I'll bill it. 'Cause I always kill the things I love.
Buy me a drink, Cole? No! Not even for old time's sake? Not even for that. You're not gonna ask me why I'm here? I wouldn't give you the pleasure. Now get around her. She's in fine voice this evening. I wonder how the commander would feel about... Save the threats for someone who cares about them, Roy. You're breaking my heart, Cole. You know how I feel about you. Stay away from Elysian Fields. I should have known that you were playing errand boy. You and your doofus partner. You have been warned. Thanks for your cooperation, officer.
I love you.
Stay away. You have no idea the type of people that are involved in that company. I have a pretty good idea, Roy. The same kind of people that sent you here. Your investigation is finished. Homicide will be taking over from here. I've heard we've had a spate of grass fires in the hills that you and that hunchback might be able to handle. Thanks for the drink, Cole.
You get the message about Monroe?
Yeah. Earl delivered it. You?
McKelty. He started making noises about my pension.
Sorry about that, Herschel. I didn't mean to drag you into this.
Save it, Phelps. Monroe's an asswipe. And so was Earl. And so was McKelty when it's all said and done.
KGPL calling car 11K, 11K.
11K, go ahead.
11K, the last known address of suspect Herbert Chapman is 650 North Kingsley Drive in Wilshire.
Roger that, KGPL. 11K en route.
Let's go pick him up.
You fought at Sugarloaf, didn't you?
I did, but I don't like to talk about it.
You come across a guy called Jack Kelso out that way?
You know Jack Kelso?
He's an insurance investigator over at California Fire and Life. Our paths cross from time to time. For some reason, seeing you makes me think of him.
Has, Jack spoken to you about his experiences on Sugarloaf? Or the rest of the campaign?
Jack keeps stum just like you do. I know what it feels like to get back from conflict. You gotta respect that.
We know we're onto something if Roy Earl comes to us and tells us to stop. Earl Herschel Bibbs. Imagine a lifetime dedicated to the force, but you piss off the wrong person and you lose your pension? The pension you spent a lifetime earning? Okay, I'm done with traffic. We'll have Herschel drive us to Chapman's apartment. We arrive at 9:02 a.m. We don't see him, but we do see a man standing outside his house.
We're looking for Herbert Chapman.
I'm looking for him, too. I need him to move his car so I can mow the lawn.
He's definitely not here.
I've been banging on his door off and on for a couple of hours. Yeah, he's out somewhere. Just some kind
Let's
of problem.
take a look at the car.
We find his car parked in the yard. Opening the back.
Let's see what he's hauling around.
Well, look at that. Some Mozkill.
Motive, opportunity, and hard evidence.
And next to this, a box of ammunition.
We should revise the APB. He's clearly armed.
So he's on the loose and dangerous. And next to this,
definitely gives him opportunity.
he was passing out these flyers to the very same people whose houses burned down. He has the mosquito coil, and in our last episode, we found him hanging around the crime scenes. He sure looks guilty, but if he was released this morning, would that have given him enough time to burn down the Morelli house?
Hold it, Cole. There he is. It's Chapman. He's coming out of the laundromat. Shit! He's seen us.
Cops! Again!
He pulls out a gun and hijacks a trolley.
Son of a bitch, he must have caught the trolley. We gotta move fast, Cole. I'll call this in, get some cars dispatched. Car 11K calling KGPL.
Go ahead, 11K.
11K requesting assistance. In pursuit of suspect aboard the 1110 University streetcar. Currently heading east on Melrose Avenue. Advise all units. Suspect is in control of car and driving dangerously.
Roger, 11K. All units, officers need assistance on Melrose Avenue. The suspect aboard the 1110 University streetcar headed eastbound. Approach with caution. Suspect is in control of the streetcar and driving dangerously. Unit to Animal Code 3 identified.
Stay on his ass, Cole. Don't lose him.
Trying. You know, you could help here, Herschel. Why not shoot at the thing?
See if he can damage one of the wheels. Might act like a brake and slow the thing down.
There we go.
End of the line, you little prick. Come on, Cole.
But Chapman doesn't go out without a fight. He pulls out his gun. And we're forced to kill him.
Looks like we have our man, Cole. Well done.
I'm not so sure. Chapman seemed to have his own agenda. There seems to be more to this than a personal vendetta.
What are you talking about?
Fires benefit Elysian in some way. I don't see Chapman and Monroe working together.
You have a point. The evidence is good for Chapman. Hard to be worrying about his side of the story when he's blasting away with that big 45.
Nice work, gentlemen. Put yourself at considerable risk stopping that trolley and probably saved a lot of lives. Anyone else but you, Phelps, and you'd be up for a bravery award. We've had our eyes on that slippery son of a bitch Chapman for as long as I can remember. I couldn't be happier than to wipe him off the scoreboard. I hope this puts to bed that crazy stuff you had going about Leland Monroe. What were you thinking, Phelps? We'll be calling Richard Nixon a crook next.
What is it?
A letter from Lou. His insurance policy named me beneficiary.
California Fire and Life. You worked for Elysian?
The roofs that he was working on collapsed.
It's a very generous settlement. Elsa, I'd like you to do something for me. I think there's something dirty about Elysian Fields.
What has that got to do with Lou?
I want you to reject this settlement. I want you to go and see an investigator named Jack Kelso and ask him to make some inquiries about Lou's case.
Isn't this police work?
Do you want to find out what happened to Lou?
Why would he help, this Kelso?
Jack, Won't be able to help himself if he smells a rat.
He is a friend of yours?
He hates my guts. Elsa, you could take this money and let them get away with it, or we could get Jack's help and do something about it.
Why not be honest with this man, Cole? He deserves your honesty if you want his help.
Believe me, Elsa, I'd like to level with him. I really would, but it's too late. Years too late.
And with that, we end the case. But Cole raises a good point. Chapman must have had his own personal agenda. He just liked fires. It doesn't make sense that he'd be burning all of these people just to help out Elysian Fields. He was clearly a dangerous lunatic. We had to put him down. But in order to find out what's really going on, we'll need to enlist some help. The captain doesn't want us investigating Elysian Fields. That is why Cole has asked for help outside of the LAPD. That is why Cole had Elsa go talk with Jack Kelso. We'll pick up with Elsa and Jack Kelso to find out exactly what they uncover in our next episode. I publish new videos each and every week here on my channel, so if you don't want to miss it, be sure to subscribe and to click that bell notification button. If you have and you feel like you're still not getting notifications, consider following me on Twitter at Oxhorn. I update Twitter manually with every new piece of content that I publish. I have a shirt shop with completely unique designs you can't find anywhere else. My designs come in a variety of men's, women's, and children's sizes and in a wide array of colors. They come on other products as well, like smartphone cases, pillows, posters, mugs, stickers, prints, etc. So if interested, you can find a link to my shop in the description below, or you can click here. If you like what I do and you want to support me in a more personal way, consider becoming a patron on Patreon or a member here on YouTube. But more than anything, I'm just so glad you're here watching this video with me today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon with more brand new videos.